All right, there we go. Been like a couple weeks since we did one of these, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, last week scheduling just worked against us, so you know it's kind of interesting how far we've gotten over the month.
Yeah, it's been really busy.
Yeah, true, it has been. But it's like, I know Tink said he had no doubt in his mind that we were going to succeed, and it still looks like we will. I mean, I know it's
Mhm.
too early to tell. We're only like 60%, but that's still really good.
Yep.
With the amount of times you keep saying "yup," I feel like you should change your profile to Big Macintosh from My Little Pony.
I would know who
Oh,
that is.
he's Applejack's older brother, and his whole thing is he only ever says "yup" or "nope."
Okay.
He very rarely will he say more than that. It's just he's supposed to be the big, strong, silent type.
Yikes.
Okay, but yeah, I mean it's like I said, it's too early to call it still. But how how well did you see us? How well did you see us doing when we started?
Hmm. Well, based on what was going on with all I've worked, I figured that we'd probably start off with a very slow. We'd start off well, but really slow down in the middle. But we really haven't. The only times we've actually slowed down was on the
On the
first couple
weekend?
of Saturdays.
Yeah, just it seems like we did our. It seems like we drew in our worst numbers on the weekend.
Yep. It's interesting, really.
Okay, this is weird. I just went back to my timeline.
Hmm.
Okay, IRT the post Dan made earlier. He had look at noise. Oh, there's Tank.
Oh,
Other.
How's this?
Okay, so I was gonna go. Okay, so I checked my time. I checked my Twitter. I RT'd a post Dan made saying that we had over 36. We had 36,640 $3,646 and 109 backers. I'm checking the Kickstarter page. We have $3,641 and 108 backers now. So we just go down.
let me check.
I reloaded the page too. It doesn't hasn't changed.
Sometimes Kickstarter will be moody like that.
I hope we can actually lose a backer. Yeah.
Hmm, that's odd.
So
I don't think Dan would be wrong about it.
he wouldn't. So either we okay, so either Kickstarter's being weird or we just lost a backer.
I just don't know what to say about that.
We were doing a pretty good job at backer retention.
Yeah, yeah, we are. Especially when there's no really nothing keeping backers from not wanting to, from not backing out because they haven't been charged yet.
Yeah, no, that's. Yeah, I'm gonna say this is. I think this is something that Kickstarter has over Indiegogo. There's a lot less risk involved for the backers because they don't get charged unless it funds.
Yep.
So if it fails, it's like they don't lose anything, and also it kind of there's also a guarantee that the people who make the Kickstarter, they won't take the money and run. Unlike Indiegogo.
It's did Tank drop out?
I guess he did. It must South African potato connection, remember?
Yeah, but normally it's really good for him.
Yeah. Hold up. Oh, by the way, I sent the link over to Raven because she said she wasn't gonna be able to make the call-in show, so I figured might as well let her hop in on the AM show. Oh, since because why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I kind of like Kickstarter. I think I like Kickstarter better.
Good evening again.
Yeah, we can hear you, and oh, you're using your phone, aren't you?
I'm in the car right now.
Ah.
Yes, I know. Crazy. I'm driving from fucking the mall.
All right. What I was gonna say though, I mean, like the thing with Kickstarter is it's all or nothing. So not, and I mean, like what's good about that is, if it fails, the backers don't lose anything, and you've got pretty much every guarantee that the people who started it up, they're not gonna run off with your money.
Yep.
Reclaimer.
Say what?
Reclaimer. Sorry, allergic reaction to bullshit.
Yeah. There's those. Unfortunately, there's those guys. Right. They prove you wrong.
Wait.
I believe the reason Indiegogo has, and this is just my take, I might be entirely wrong, why they have flexible funding is for long shot projects like independent film. I've followed at least 3 independent films that have been funding via Indiegogo and flexible funding, and every single time they fund different aspects each time, and not once have they ever made targets. So they run with the flexible funding option specifically for the fact that they are guaranteed to at least get some of the funds that they need for that, say, current aspect. The one I was following was Preacher 6. They had a pre-production, they had a main production, and now the latest one that they ran was for post-production and all that. And each time they didn't make it, but the film is now completed, and I've actually seen them run more trailers, and it will be reaching DVD soon. So there's something to be said of having the all or nothing approach, which Indiegogo also provides, but there's also incentives for certain creators to run on flexible funding. Now, flexible funding is something that, let's say you have a fairly unknown property, but it has garnered some following, but not enough for becomes a much more fun, viable method of doing it, because then the people who backed it will still be guaranteed of getting their book, provided the creator is not a total asshole. But I digress. The whole thing there stands to reason then, even though, let's say you didn't get all the backers, let's say you funded around 75%, which in most cases would be enough to fund the book, but might not be enough to, say, fund the coloring or something. So the backers will still get the book, albeit without color or something like that. Sporkman's a great example of that. While they didn't reach funding to get Jay Shiro to do the lettering, they did get enough to fund Ginger to do the colors at least. Yep. So the book will still be making it to people fully colored. And I'm done.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I mean, like, but still, like I said, I mean, like, at least with, I'm just saying, like, with Kickstarter, like, you've got every promise that the creators will not run up with the money. Hi, hey! I just checked the Kickstarter's harder. It went back up. Now we're $10 higher than when Dan last put it.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna
on
bet.
the point of no guarantee that people will just take the money and run, that once again comes down to the person, and there are proven points in time where guys have taken the money and run, even though they're successfully funded.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily platform independent. That could very well be based on purely the character of the person running the campaign.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, and at that, and again, it kind of comes down to that old adage: buyer beware.
Yes, and at the end of the day, what you are doing is you are effectively doing speculative investment on a property or a
You're not,
item on a website.
you're not speculating; you're gambling.
You are speculating that this property will launch. The biggest thing right now are people who speculated and are still hoping for the completed version, say Squadron 42, to come out for a very specific game called Star Citizen.
Yeah. I don't know. I've come to view crowdfunding less like business investment and more like gambling.
Look at it this way. You are providing a property with their startup capital. Therefore, you are effectively an investor, because if the guy is of good moral character, you are guaranteed to get the item you invested in at the end.
Mhm.
So it is a form of, it's more like business capital. So you're crowdfunding business capital rather than, say, going to the bank for a loan or something like to that effect. It's not gambling because you are not putting, the money on the chance. There's still a chance, but it's not gambling as such, if you know what I mean. It's not
But
like you're going into a casino with a promise of getting, what you're going to get. You literally know if the project reaches fulfillment as it should, you know what you're going to get. When you gamble, you don't know what you're going to get. You're putting down X amount with the promise of getting a higher amount or bigger item out of it. That's gambling.
I don't know. Just like I don't know, when I kind of dawned on me that what we were doing was essentially gambling with other people's money, it sort of put the whole project in perspective for me, and it just kind of made me feel like, kind of gave me sort of a sense of responsibility to the backers.
Yes, but you are telling them exactly what they are going to get. You're not telling them you put this money down, there's a chance you might get this. You're telling them, you back us and we guarantee we will provide these 3 books to you. Either you back one or you back all 3. You are guaranteeing them a item at the end. You are giving them a set value for their money at the end. Gambling does not provide you a set value. You could either get something or will most likely get fuck all. So this isn't gambling. It might feel like it might seem like it, but inherently, based on the terms and how everything operates, this isn't gambling. Awkward silence there, eh? Fun times.
Hold up. I gotta take a phone call. Can you guys take this?
Surf.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Matt's going to have to carry this because I just got home. So I'll be back with you guys as soon as I can. Sorry, Matt. Leave you in the hot seat.
Surf. No problem. So, yeah. Looking up the. Now I'm looking up the chat. Probably not going to be anyone there. One person watching. Nobody in the chat. Yikes. Certainly hope that Brett gets back soon. Or Tank. Actually, that one person's probably Tank watching. and laughing. Now let's see. Hey, Colornix, what's going on? And awkward dead air because there's nobody talking. Oh, why are you drawing, Colornix? Why am I saying your name? Because you're the only one there. Oh. Okay, so it looks like by numbers stated by Dan and the updated numbers, we did lose one backer, but I have a new one who put in. Let's see. What about who made a $15 pledge? $15. Well, Carnix, I'd have to say that it's better to draw OCs than fan art, mainly because it gives you an idea of of drawing your own characters. Much like how writers should be more focused on writing original works rather than fan fiction to gain the experience to build their own worlds and characters. Because I noticed that a lot of fanfics tend to be what the writers want the characters from a show to be like rather than how they actually act in in a TV show or video game or movie or book. Kind of like how there's probably fanfiction out about that rewrites the last Game of Thrones episode. One thing I really don't like about crowdfunding is that they put the shipping and handling amount in the amount pledged.
Hey, Color next came in.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry if I. And Tank's going. Sorry if I left it hanging there for a while.
That's all right. And comics, I think your art style, you'd be able to do pretty well with fan art.
Yeah, I honestly, dude. Honestly, I like Nyx's stuff so much. I actually want to get a variant cover from her for the next issue.
Yeah, same here, actually.
Yeah, she's honestly got the knack to do really good fantasy art.
Yeah. And in a way, it won't be so much fan art as is commissioned work.
Yeah, and I mean, like, our stuff would actually fit just because, like I said, we do it. Our universe is urban fantasy.
Yep.
Yeah, Honestly, just sometimes you just gotta sometimes you just gotta be willing to take a chance on people.
Yep.
I mean, that's essentially what I did with Victor and Ginger. I took a chance on them, and fuck has it paid off.
It's always a big risk to deal with new artists because there are some who will try to take your work. I will try to argue with you over the little things, and then if you don't do it, if you don't bend to what they want, then they'll just leave. I've had that happen once,
Yeah,
and boy, was I not happy about that.
I don't know. I mean, like, would you? I'm trying to think. Like the thing with Beth, would you say that was essentially kind of taking a chance? But because at the point you reached out to Beth, she had like you already knew what her work was like.
Yeah, and I think the only risk I had was whether or not she'd actually want to take the work, because she's the type who won't do a comic just because they're paying. It's because she's gotta like the concept first.
Yeah. So in other words, if Beth got offered a job from the big two, she likely wouldn't take it.
Well, she'd like the opportunity, but it depends on. I think it depends on where they want her.
Oh, but
And color Nix, we're only stating observable fact.
yeah, you just on it.
You
Yeah,
are a good artist.
yeah, sir. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you are, and we'll just as soon as I'm able to, as soon as I get the script tightened up for the next issue, I'm gonna. I think like something a mistake I think I did with Alicia Draws and with Alicia fuck. Dude has a Croatian name I can't pronounce. And Zeno, like him and Zeno, like the mistake I made with them was like I don't think I probably should just I think if I did it over now, I would let them sort of glance at the script and tell them, okay, just take this and do whatever and just make a cover out of that. So I think that's what I might do if I do that with that's what I'll probably do with next. I'll just say here's the script, find it now, interpret this how you want.
Hear that, Nix? You get a look at an early changing script.
That's what yeah, because I think the problem was like, I mean, this is not to knock against. This is not against Zeno and Elijah. I just this is gonna drive me nuts. It's not to knock against them; they're both good artists. I was the one who screwed up.
Oh yeah.
Up by not giving them enough direction. Because the thing is, like, there's a big difference between the variants they did and like the variants that Brian has gotten for Rags. Like, they're a little bit different, but they still kind of fit the overall tone of the book. Like, like I said, not their fault. That's not on them though. That's on me because I did not know what the fuck I was doing. Why did it get quiet all of a sudden?
It's because you're talking.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. There's a lot of there's a lot of different ways of handling artists. Sometimes they'll want specifics, and sometimes they'll just wing it.
You're no age.
And Zeno, I noticed, is more than willing to troll you.
I know.
Like that, I've never seen bad fan art of Maeve.
Look, it was a joke dare. He wasn't. I didn't think anyone would actually do it. Like it wasn't even. Fuck, it wasn't even a dare. Just because it was. There was just me stating. Actually, fuck, it was a dare, but I didn't think anyone would actually do it. And yes, he did troll me. He trolled me good. Like making something that was actually horrific.
I think it's because he knew he'd get that reaction from you.
Let's put it this way: he could have, knowing Zeno's twisted sense of humor, it could have also been worse.
Yeah, it could have been. He got lucky.
All I know, I'll say this because like Ginger once looked over his shoulder and asked him, "Is this going to be like the Shira thing?" And he just turned around and looked and said, "No."
Oh God.
Yeah, that was like he. Like I said, he has a twisted sense of humor.
Yep.
Speaking of which, he also put in his submission for the art contest. It is remarkably restrained.
Yeah.
Although Ginger said she might have had something to do with that.
I have no doubt. I really don't have any doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is no. Yeah, but yeah. Actually, I'm kind of amazed by how restrained most people have been. Like Nick says, I got to get into that. Actually, the contest. You know, just if I'll DM. Did I DM you a reference? Tell me if I did. Yeah. You still got. I mean, you still got 10. Still got about. Still got 11 days. The deadline's not till the 25th. You got time. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, like I know I said safer work designs, but that's not like that would stop people from making Maeve bustier or curvier. And I have not seen anything to that effect so far. Like, people seem to get that that's not her. Matt,
What?
were you even listening?
Yeah, you're talking about how keeping it safe to work hasn't kept them from making your bust here.
Yeah, I know. Look, it wouldn't stop them.
No, I mean at the point in her life, she hasn't. Has she fully been through puberty?
Well, she's at the start.
Yeah, so physically she's gonna change as the story goes on.
Yeah. Next, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. Okay, so all right, you can. There's not, like I said, it just as long as it's like I said, the only rule I put down was it has to be safe for work. Like there's nothing. You draw her more curvy. There's nothing stopping you there. And look, my brothers in the chat too.
Hey, Brett's brother.
That is actually a first.
Yeah.
Yeah, next to that, are you gonna need a reference if you want to get in the contest? You're gonna need a reference to work off of. He says, "Ha, of course. Can't imagine me doing something lewd." Like I said, it's at least good that people understand that. That's not her. Yeah. You know, and I'll just DM you the. I'll just DM her the. DM her the. Or the reference. Just be safe. I'll just DM her the reference. Just to be safe. I'll just DM it to her. Just to be safe. I'll just DM it to her. It's actually been. It has actually been damn good at how, like that. I was gonna say, like it's. I kind of really like the results that the Kickstarter's produced so far. Like, we've had a really good engagement. We've had really good. We've had. I mean, we've had really good backer retention, and in some cases, some of them have actually even upped their pledges. So, fuck, I think, yeah, this is we're just. I know it might sound a little early, but we are fucking killing it, man.
Yes, we are. I mean, we're doing better than a lot of other campaigns.
And it's our first one too. Like, I mean, I think, like I said, I mean, like I know, like the big thing with crowdfunding is like Jeremy said, it's U-shaped. Like you do your best at the beginning and at the end, but we've had pretty consistent momentum so far. Like we did not slow down in the middle. Like I mean, like the only time, like you said, the only times we really seemed to slow down was over the weekends.
Yep. Except for Saturday, and this past Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. That's actually something do you think it might have something to do with the fact that when the weekend just shows up, like everyone's pretty much tapped out for money?
Yeah, because they want to do some, go on and do something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like everyone's just pretty much. Yeah, I mean that would make sense. I mean, like people just get like people would like they've pretty much spent money on everything else they got. So like they've just weekends just like a dead zone up until payday shows up again.
Yep. It's got the only real issue I have with Kickstarter is that we can't increase the days.
Oh.
If it looks like we're going to hit it, if we're close to hitting it.
Dude, if we got to, we'll just put our own money down.
Yeah. I mean, it shows that we've got an audience, so it's not really changing what we want to do.
Yeah, wait. I mean, even if we don't make it this time, we can always try again.
Yeah, but it's really interesting how we lapped some higher profile campaigns.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Well, anyway, it's time for you to talk to the chat because I'm going to be. I gotta take off for a little bit.
All right, fine. I'll
About 1 minute.
I'll handle the chef.
All right, be right back.
All right. I sent you a message over Facebook, bro. Don't worry about your VED. All right. Again, let's check to see if there's anything interesting happening on the Twitter. Or shadowing is not character development. I don't know. Well, Genndy Tartakovsky has a new cartoon coming back. I can't believe that guy's still around. Well, I guess he would still be around. I mean, like they gave him another, gave him that show with that final season of Samurai Jack. Now let's see. What do you think will happen in the last episode of Game of Thrones? I don't. What do I think will happen next? I think Jon Snow will kill Daenerys. If she's not dead already. I don't know. I wasn't watching I stopped watching Game of Thrones after season 6. Thanks, but if she's still alive and Jon Snow's still alive, I fully expect that they'll both be he'll kill her. And it's gonna be like a whole thing where he's just parallel, or he's a parallel for Jaime, and he has. Although the difference will be where Jaime sort of had the stink of being the Kingslayer hanging over his head for killing the Mad King. Jon's gonna be hailed as the savior of the 9 realms. 7 kingdoms, not 9 realms. 9 realms is fucking Norse mythology. That's what I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's what? Hey, I don't know. I stopped watching after season 6. Okay, what do you want? Let me see. I'm just gonna Google see if she's still alive. I'm gonna Google see if she's still alive. Is she still alive? Still alive. He died. Every character still alive for the series finale. Yeah, I'm calling it. Yeah, I'm calling it. Jon Snow is going to kill Daenerys, and he's going to be hailed as the savior. He's going to kill Daenerys, and he is going to be hailed as the savior of the 7 kingdoms. And it's going to be an inverse of what happened to Jaime. Yeah. Cersei and Jaime dead. Yeah. Kind of sucks that Jaime's dead, though. He at least said... Jaime kind of had the best character development back when I was watching. Like, he was actually, like, you could actually, even though he kind of acted like a fucking prick, right? There was that scene he had with Brienne, and you could see like how much killing his king really actually weighed on his conscience. Like, he regretted that, and it's not because he had the shame of being the Kingslayer, just because he turned on his king, and he wasn't supposed to. And you can really see just how little the Lannister legacy mattered to him. It was his own personal honor was more important to him.
All right. So what's going on?
Nick's asked me what I think will happen in the last episode of Game of Thrones, and I'm calling it that we're gonna see Jon Snow kill Daenerys, but it's going to be like an inverse of what happened to Jaime with Aerys Targaryen.
Yeah, because I noticed something about. Then again, I don't know about that because Jon has taken up so many qualities of Ned Stark that if he does do something, it won't be anything like that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: like, he's going to kill Daenerys, and like I said, it is going to be the same act as when Jaime killed Aerys. But the difference is, where Jaime had to live with the shame of being the Kingslayer, Jon is going to be hailed as the man who saved Westeros.
That would be interesting. So,
That is going to happen.
though I have a feeling that they're gonna go for a whole subverting expectations bit and have Arya kill her.
That's also possible. I don't know.
And it looks like Nick agrees with me.
Of course. Yeah, we'll wait till they see. Yeah, well, like I said, wait till they see how I subvert expectations.
Yep. And I think it's interesting how George R. R. Martin was going to subvert expectations with Daenerys because he's been talking about how how Daenerys' storyline was she's a liberator of slaves, but what happens when a liberator of slaves tries to take over a country with no slaves?
Well, at that point, she's an invader.
Yep. And that's how she excuses her violent tactics, is that she's liberating slaves. While with Westeros, there is no such justification. I mean, that's the reason why Ned Stark, I had Jorah Mormont arrested, or tried to have him executed, but Mormont ran away.
Mm-hmm.
So, how I see is that the writers of Game of Thrones they really dropped the ball on this.
You know, if they really wanted to subvert expectations, they put Tyrion on the throne.
Yeah, but they subverted expectations by making the smartest man in Westeros stupid.
Yes.
You know what I think is really funny about Game of Thrones final season?
But
Even the actors are calling them out on it.
I think what's funny is that I'm wondering why you and Blossom are continuing to watch it and torture yourselves.
At this
even though at this point you both know it's bad.
At this point, it's more about finishing it up than anything else. But Kit Harington, when asked about the final season, he said it was disappointing.
Still,
really
I still unironically would trust Blossom with Westeros over Dany.
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst she can do? Just a bad juice?
Well, Emilia Clarke was asked what she thought of the final season. She couldn't say anything off the back of her hand. So, because she's under contract obligation at the time with HBO, she said, best she's never. And Peter Dinklage doesn't give a fuck. He says about the Battle of Winterfell, you're fighting against this guy who can raise the dead, and you're sending all the citizens, everyone who can't defend themselves, down into the crypt where all the dead people are.
And Nick says, seriously, final season does suck. So basically, it's a repeat of what happened with The Sopranos. Everyone hated the final season of The Sopranos.
Except that I think that is because of the ending. With the final season, they're just rushing through everything. Everything that they've done with Daenerys setting her up for the Mad Queen, and then the conflict between her and Jon, that should have been a couple of seasons worth of story.
Huh?
But they don't want to pay anymore. They pay the actors anymore. I mean, Lena Headey I was given $1 million to sit there, to stand there and drink wine for the majority of her final episode.
No. You honestly think the only reason people hate the final season of The Sopranos is just because of the last episode?
That's the most common complaint I've heard.
Still, though, I mean, like, okay, I mean, like, I admit I did not watch it, but I mean, like, don't you think it kind of earned that sort of ending? Like, just leave it there and leave everyone's futures uncertain?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is with the mob. Nobody's, unless you're really high up there, nobody's life is certain.
I mean, like, I think I remember hearing that where Tony is at that point, all his friends are dead, and his family's abandoned him. And I think like the FBI is going to be coming for him.
Yep.
Like just leaving it there and just not answering the question of what happens to him. It's just like that's kind of fitting for him. Just leave it in the air. Let you speculate what happened to him. It's kind of a. I mean, it's not a bad ending. I think it's a little bit better than The Wire's final episode too, because like the whole thing because the final episode of The Wire, like, it's just like it's kind of a downer, because then you realize that even though there were people who were trying to make things better in Baltimore,
Yeah.
everything is just so bad that it's just never going to get better, and it's just one bad cycle that everybody's trapped in.
Oh yeah, and honestly, if they wanted Game of Thrones final season to be interesting, they'd definitely have to make it have the ending be something more of a cycle, unless they really subvert our expectations. And after Jon Snow takes his throne, he starts exhibiting signs of madness.
I've kind of had it. It's like I'm kind of like over writers subverting expectations. Like, is it too much to ask you just give people what they want?
Apparently so. I'd like to know how much of what's going on with. I just wonder how much George R. R. Martin is paying attention to the reaction to all of this and taking notes. Maybe that's the reason why he hasn't finished his books yet. He just wants to see how the endings play out. Except that the writers of the show took his material and ran away with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like let me put it this, like, I just want to make one thing clear. I'm not against the idea of subverting people's expectations. I mean, like, surprises are good in a story to keep things interesting, but you got to earn that.
Yep.
You can't just subvert expectations for the sake of doing it.
And something I know something funny.
Yeah.
The majority of subverting expectation today, it's usually writers using other people's work. Star Wars: Last Jedi. It was not. It was Rian Johnson who took what J.J. Abrams and had done for the trilogy and threw it out, as well as taking characters in the universe created by George Lucas, and destroying the rules from that.
Mhm.
And then you have the writers of Game of Thrones who took George R. R. Martin's work and bastardized it.
Fuck, you can even make the argument that that's what George R. R. Martin's career has been based on, because he's essentially taken all the tropes that Tolkien created and tried to turn them on their head.
Well, it's not just. I wouldn't say that, because he has taken inspiration. He has admitted taking inspiration from Tolkien, such as keeping the magic on down low, because that was what Tolkien had done with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but he's also said, like, he's more called out Tolkien's imitators than Tolkien himself. I'll give him that. I will give him that. But he's also said, like, he thought Tolkien bringing Gandalf back from the dead was a mistake, that Gandalf should have stayed dead.
To be honest, the only thing I've seen about that was in written interview, and that doesn't take sarcasm very well. So he could be sarcastic about that, given his newfound reputation as the killer of all things.
Maybe, but I mean, like, it's all that's possible, but still, I mean, like, if it, like, maybe that is possible, but if he's actually serious about that, then I'm just gonna be then he obviously does not understand, like, the kind of archetype that Gandalf is supposed to be, because I mean, Gandalf is essentially what happens when you combine Odin with Jesus, and
Yeah.
and in both cases they died and came back to life. No, I'm not making that up. Odin, like, there's actually
I know.
there, like, the myth is that Odin sacrifices his not only sacrificed his eye, he died on a tree to gain knowledge, and he came back to life, and he all of a sudden knew the ways of the universe and magic.
Oh, well, I think there's a difference. One of the key differences between Tolkien and Martin is that Martin has taken inspiration from history.
Well, yeah, he's admitted that. He said, like, the whole war of the Five Kingdoms, the War of Five Kings is more or less based on the War of the Roses.
Which I noticed is something that it seems like his favorite war, because reading the history of Westeros, there has been some auras that were based off of it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but you really don't have to look that hard to notice all the parallels between the War of Five Kings and the War of the Roses, though, because, like, that's how we get the Tudors on the throne, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing that I think is going to be really funny watching is take a group of people who watch the TV show, have them read the books, and just see how confused they are. Because characters who are dead are still alive, and characters who are still alive are dead.
There are characters in the books who didn't even make it into the show.
Yep.
Like, there's this one guy called, I don't know if he's a jester or something. All I know is his name is Patches, and I think he's kind of crazy. Talks about stuff about, like, the drowned god or some shit.
Oh yeah, I believe it was one of the Greyjoys, who was the character of Euron Greyjoy in that book is the books is a lot more diabolical than the one that they presented in the show, because, as it turns out, he raped his brother. He's just this incredibly disgusting person who it actually seems like Martin is trying to build him up to be a Lovecraftian type of villain because
That's what I've heard
there's
about the Greyjoys. That's how I've heard the Greyjoys described. They're like Cthulhu worshipping Vikings.
yeah, but from what it seems like, Euron Greyjoy, who acts like a frat boy in this TV show, is more of a cunning villain who seems like has gained power from a a higher power. So Martin's using him to build up more of the supernatural in his books, and I think that's where he's getting stuck. Is he's got all of these plot lines going on. It's just
He's got too many. That's
yeah.
that was. I think I remember coming across a thread that said what happened with Martin is that the thing with Martin's writing style is he is a planter. I was actually wondering about the books. Glad I see the TV series so I can watch that with the book.
Yeah.
And if you don't have time, next, if you don't have time to sit down and read the books, a buddy of mine says the audiobooks are definitely worth listening to.
All I have to say is that about one of the bigger changes is that the Northern Lords are not the idiots who are in the TV show. They are extremely loyal to House Stark to the point where one of the House Lords kidnapped two of Walder Frey's sons, killed them, baked them in a pie for Walder Frey's wedding night, which was transplanted into Arya,
which was ripped out of Titus Andronicus.
Yep.
But yeah, where I was going was, so the thread I came across was that the problem that Martin ran into is that his writing style is that he's a planter. Now there's or a pantser. There's basically two kinds of writing. There's basically like two or three kinds of writers: pantsers, planters, and plotters. Plotters, they know everything down to the smallest detail. They have everything planned. They've thought everything through. They can keep this. They are really good at keeping the story consistent and moving. The problem is the characters don't feel like they have agency in their stories, and that things are more dictated by events. Pantsers, it's literally what it sounds like. They're basically making up the story as they go. So the characters feel like they have control, but the problem is it feels like the story can feel like it lacks direction and becomes aimless.
Yeah.
Planter falls somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, but I also noticed that he has a problem with continuity.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he has any character notes or anything like that, or anything to look at. Because at one point in the first book, it's Ned Stark has a policy where he'll have one of his men sit with him as they dine to increase morale with his men. In book 5, Jon Snow decides that he doesn't have to eat alone when he becomes Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, because that's what he claims that Ned Stark did.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also this is something that he's admitted in an interview, but there's a horse that he had changed gender, not because of any kind of.
Well, it's a horse.
Yeah. Well, he didn't force it. He just said he forgot the gender and decided to make a he into a her, because he didn't have. He wasn't going to read his previous books to find out the gender. I don't think he has notes. Or at least he doesn't have any character or notes like that.
Yeah. But yeah, to bring it back to that thread though, what that thread was getting at was that because Martin is a planter, he sort of just kind of plants the seeds and lets things develop. But he sort of takes a more hands-off approach to the story. The problem was there were too many threads spun out, and so he had to do some pruning. Not only that, I think he intended to have a 5-year time skip for one of the books, but
Yeah.
he could not figure out how to make the time skip work and still make the character's actions feel natural. So he just decided he'd write through the 5 years, and that's how things ended up getting dragged out longer. And that spun out even more, threads, and he's just basically let himself get overwhelmed.
Oh yeah. And next, there's one thing I have to say about. Gonna say something about books for Nyx. It's that the Red Wedding is a lot easier to take in than in the show, in the books, because, for one thing, the Northern guests actually do fight back. The Great John, who was drinking heavily the entire night, was still able to kill a good deal of Frey soldiers while they were trying to keep him down. And even when he was all tied up, he kept biting at them, because that was how resolved he was at continuing the fight.
Mm-hmm.
While his son, the Small John, dies in the wedding, but he's brought back. But he's in the series as a traitor to the Starks when he allies the Umbers with the Boltons, which is really stupid, because in the books they're 100% loyal to House Stark, and they were able to find Rickon Stark, whom they were going to rally behind against the Boltons as part of a conspiracy against them.
Mm-hmm.
In case you want to know how much the showrunners fucked up.
Well, good thing you, me, and Dan only have only a handful of characters to keep track of.
Yeah, but I think the whole thing with the showrunners of Game of Thrones is that they wanted to do subvert expectations before was cool.
Yeah.
Subvert expectation.
So
The North, expert expectation. The Northern Lords are going to work with Jon Snow, and because they've been conspiring against the Boltons due to their loyalty to the Starks. Subverted expectation. Only House Mormont does it.
Nick says, now I got an idea. Chair almost fell back again.
Oh boy, that's fun.
Okay. But yeah, I think I don't think we are. Hopefully, we are not going to run into that problem. I've got about maybe a cast of a dozen characters at most to keep track of, but only a few of them really are going to be driving events.
Yeah, I don't think I have to worry about that. The only thing I have to really worry about is if I pull a Chris Carter with what he did with the X-Files continuation. Whereas he decides we're going to have some random funny episodes that fit nowhere in with the overall storyline.
Mm-hmm. There's no. I can. Yeah. Do you really only have to keep track of Althea's story, don't you?
Pretty much.
I think you got it easier than me or Dan do. because you've only got one character who's you really need to keep track of.
Yeah, because her story is a lot smaller than yours yours or Dan's in comparison.
Smaller. I mean, like, how is Maeve's story smaller? She's, I don't know. It's just her story's just is just growing up in Aberdeen while at the same time finding out, oh wait, I've got a supernatural heritage.
Well, for the most part, you've got a lot of personal baggage that comes with it, and you've got a much larger cast as well.
Yeah, like I said, like I said, the cat. It's like, I would say like at least. About a dozen supporting characters.
Yep.
And I think Dan's kind of more or less in a similar boat with Adobe.
He's got some big plans with Adobe, so
Yeah, well, there's no doubt in my mind Dan's probably gonna, like, Dan can handle it. Like me, Dan's been doing this a lot longer than both of us.
yes, he has.
So yeah, he's been doing this long enough that he shouldn't have too much trouble. Me, I still am kind of learning things as I go.
Yep.
I'm probably the one who's got the biggest. I'm probably the one with the largest hill to climb. Well, in terms, I'm just hoping it's not like a. I'm just hoping I don't end up like one of those creators where like everyone says don't start at the beginning because it's not bad. It's just not as good as when he finally peaked. I sort of want Changeling to be good out of the gate.
Yeah, but that's something that's not going to be. It's going to be something that'll take time.
I know. But it's just like, it's just like, because here's the thing. Because like I've heard people say like if you want to get into like Cerebus, you don't start with like you don't start at the beginning just because it's rougher and it doesn't really feel like it has much of a direction. They always say if you want to get into Cerebus, start at High Society, because that's when Dave Sim really started getting good with it.
Yeah. So the beginning is when you feel out the characters and establish them more and more.
That'd be fair. Like I said, that'd be fair. Or at least I'm starting out with more of a direction than Dave Sim did when he was making Cerebus.
Yeah.
So like fuck, even if Changeling's kind of rough for like the first few issues, people are going to say you still should at least start at the beginning. Otherwise, you're just going to be lost.
Yeah, because it never starts off good, automatically good.
Well, not all. There are times it does.
Yeah, I mean, I still have to say that to loop it back to Game of Thrones, that the first book in the series is my favorite of the series of A Song of Ice and Fire because for a beginning, you don't expect it to be any good, but it shows you that George R. R. Martin has learned a lot over the years of writing, over the decades.
I know, but like there are some writers who are just like they're just good out of the gate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having a hard time thinking of ones that are. I mean, like I get it. It's like the first book. No one really expects it to be that good. But there are times. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
Yeah, and Lord of the Rings doesn't count because it was one book originally.
Not only that, I think Tolkien spent years working on that.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna say that even though I had big problems with the World War I scenes in Tolkien.
Hmm.
It's a lot better than it was the best thing I watched, considering that the only other big thing I'd seen was the Game of Thrones episode where Daenerys destroys everything.
Still, though, I mean, say what. I'll let you have your opinion about the World War One scenes in Tolkien, but I mean, like, if you're gonna tell a movie that is basically about Tolkien's life, you're gonna have to touch on that in some capacity because that was an important part of his life.
Yeah, but I really have to say, I really think that I really do think that if you're going to take it and use it to push it as the inspiration for Lord of the Rings, it's fine to leave it out. It is completely fine to leave it out because because Hollywood filmmakers don't know how to do things that involves combat. When you watch Tolkien go out over no man's land with no guns, no headgear, just a blanket because he's ill, you lose credibility over this actually happening. Because there's no way no soldier in World War One would have been able to do that and survive. It was better. It was a better movie when they were touching upon his love of language, his and what inspired him to start writing stories set with this language. His relationships with his friends, his professors, and his inarguably one true love. That would be it. Oh, and also his Christian faith because he was a huge Christian.
Well, he was a devout Roman Catholic.
Yep. And he was actually able to and during the time that he met C.S. Lewis, Lewis was an atheist, and it was their conversation that made him convert.
Not just that, it was also like his wife Edith, like she grew up Protestant, but she converted to Catholicism when they got married.
Yeah. They made that point with when it came to the scene where Tolkien's guardian told him that he disapproved of the relationship mainly because of how it affected his academic work. And at the very end, commented about how she's not even Catholic. Which I think they set that up and that scene up just to have it go, just to have his guardian just say, you know what, she's all right later on. That was just how predictable that the writing of that biopic was.
Well, still, if you're gonna talk about like how his friendships affected him too, like he lost most, if not all, his friends in World War One.
He lost all of the four of them that formed the club in high school. Two of them died, and one of them he just ended up losing contact with. They were never such close friends after the war.
Yeah. Like I said, that's why I say you gotta touch on his experiences in World War One in some capacity, because like I said, he lost friends there.
Yeah, but the whole thing is that if you're going to touch upon it, don't do it in a way that tries to connect Lord of the Rings to it. You're just gonna have to watch the movie to see why I have such big problems with it. because, like I said before, Hollywood can't do anything that involves war all that well unless they're a very good director writer team who
I mean,
have spent quite a bit of time researching it.
I heard a lot of good things about Dunkirk and Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah, because they wanted to tell the stories of these people. They didn't want to tell. They didn't want to push any kind of connection between them and a fictional story.
Yeah, actually, about Hacksaw Ridge. If you fuck, what was the name of the guy in that movie? I'm gonna pull it up right now. I forgot his name.
Andrew Garfield.
Desmond Doss, not Andrew Garfield.
Okay.
The guy Desmond Doss. That's
Yeah.
his name. You actually look at the guy, like some of the guy's exploits. Let me put it this way: you watch the movie and you're gonna say, "No way that happened." Mm-mm. Well, he actually did do some of those things. Like he actually kicked a grenade, and that was tossed his way. He actually did that.
Yeah, I think with Nolan and Gibson, they did those movies to tell stories about the events that happened during the war.
Not just that, they also like. I think what else they did is they sort of broke away because like a lot of like I think ever since Vietnam, war movies have started kind of being more about the tragedy and the carnage, and they just said and they started making movies that explored the heroism in war.
Yeah, or the survival of it, how people are surviving it.
But yeah, I mean, like,
well, I think
I'm not gonna say you should like make a war movie a fucking action movie, but it's like not every war movie needs to be Platoon, is what I'm saying.
No. And to be honest, with the whole going on with the bit with Tolkien World War One, he survived the bloodiest battle of World War One, but it's not because of exploits. It's because he had gotten seriously ill and had to leave. And that was the point that the movie decided to explore when he was seriously ill and had to go and decided to go off to search for his friend in the trenches in a way that was very, very reminiscent of Frodo's quest to destroy the One Ring. He even had a traveling companion by the name of Sam.
Okay, yeah, like I'll give you that. They're a little too on the nose. I'm not gonna take that from you.
And for the most part, it really diverged away from the rest of the film. It was just it was supposed to be a movie about Tolkien's earlier life, his how he became the author that created Lord of the Rings. But to be honest, I don't think World War One really had much of an impact on his writing.
I don't know. Yeah. I can't imagine. I have to disagree with you. You don't walk away from an experience like that without it having some impact on you.
Well, no,
Um,
of course not. But
Why, but
he didn't put in Middle Earth, other than that war is terrible.
yeah, like I said, yeah, he kind of walk. Yeah, like even though he kind of presents like all, even though he tries to present it in a more heroic like than say Martin does, which is ironic considering Martin essentially was essentially a draft dodger for Vietnam.
Yep.
Like if he tries to put it in a more heroic light, but he also doesn't gloss over just how bad it is. Like there's that, like you remember when Gollum is leading Sam and Frodo through that swamp where there was a big battle and you can still see the bodies of the people who died there.
Yep.
I wouldn't say bodies; it's more like their spirits are still haunting that place. And
Yep.
like even well, like there's I mean, like even how Frodo can't, even Frodo after he gets back to the Shire and he just realizes he can't. He's not the same person he was when he left the Shire, and he just can't stay there anymore.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
that's both of those are kind of pulled from his experiences in World War One.
but I have to say that argue that that's not actually in the book. Frodo does live in the Shire for quite some time, even becomes mayor.
Yeah, yeah, but he eventually goes. He eventually goes to the he goes to the Greylands because like he just kind of realizes there's no place for him there anymore.
As a ring bearer. Yeah. But then again, for the most part, Lord of the Rings has the setup that Tolkien had for Lord of the Rings period of Middle Earth was that they were going to the magical creatures were moving away from Middle Earth, going off to where I believe it was called the Undying Lands, where they could live. And it actually would have been interesting to see how how Tolkien would have handled the sequel if he continued it.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's kind of for the best that he didn't, though.
yeah, well, here the thing is that he didn't see a reason for it. So the only thing that is actually known about it was the things that his son Christopher had written about it, and the few chapters that were published in the book The People of Middle Earth.
Just like yeah,
But I will say that I would have enjoyed a book from him where it's about myths, basically, myth, the times of mythology turning to the times of history.
that would have because like I think he said he sort of set out to make Lord of the Rings as sort of like a British mythology.
Yep, he did.
He went to make a mythology that was uniquely British.
Yep. The guy who wrote his biography also published Tolkien's letters, which I found a really interesting to read. At the very end, his final letter was to his daughter, talking about his plans for future work, and it was only about a few months a few days from a few days after he writes that letter, he dies.
Damn.
So there's a thing about authors, writers, all that. Even if they don't have to work for the rest, I've worked for a while. I've at during their last days of their lives, they'll still keep on working. They'll keep on working. I mean, Stan Lee. He was working. He was still working on the Spider-Man newspaper strip when he died.
God damn. So you can only hope that you'll live as rich a life as guys like Stan.
Yeah. World War II survived. World War II veteran, and probably the only actor in that and most only the only actor in the scene in his cameo scene for Captain America: First Avenger, qualified to wear a uniform.
Well, not just that. I mean, like guys like that. You look at how accomplished they are, and like that's just like how do you? It's like how do you measure up to that, man?
No kidding. The one regret that I think he has, and he had when he died, he never got to play J. Jonah Jameson.
Well, he did also say in an interview with Kevin Smith that J.K. Simmons played him way better than he ever could have.
Yep.
Personally, I think his biggest regret is that he never got to have grandkids.
Yeah, that too. He has a lot of regrets.
Yeah, but well, everybody does, but he lived a good life, and you look at what he built, and that's something most people never get to do.
Yeah. He managed. He was also the man who brought back Captain America after the title died out after the wars ended. Which you have to say was more likely a very risky thing to do for him because a lot of I normally don't. You're not able to bring back something like a property like that and have it turn out well. But he did, and it's because he decided to make Captain America an Avenger.
Really?
Yeah, he brought back Captain America in the Avengers. And when sales picked up and when they got a lot of feedback, positive responses from about Captain America, they decided to renew the title, his solo title.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you want to know something interesting? It's a bit of a downer, but how much do you know about Mark Grunwald?
Not a whole lot.
Okay, well, he loved working on Captain America. Like that was his favorite character. He worked at Marvel. He was at Marvel for a long time. even through the period in the 90s where it was almost about to go out of bankruptcy. And like he actually had the unfortunate job of firing people, and he didn't like doing it.
Jeez.
Okay, so here's where it gets here's where things take a really dark turn. So Marvel's still in the middle of that uncertain period, and then they kind of hit up Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, say, hey, you guys are a hot item right now, why don't you just reboot some of our stuff? And they sort of jump at the chance to do it. Rob Liefeld gets Captain America.
Yeah.
And it's awful.
Yeah.
Mark Gruenwald leaves with a preview copy of Rob Liefeld's Captain America on Friday. He does not come back into the office on Monday. Because over the weekend he died from a heart attack.
Oh,
even though he was in perfect health. He never smoked, he did not drink. In fact, he was a health freak. So there's the implication that Rob Liefeld may have made a comic so bad it killed somebody.
Goddamn. I mean, it's funny, but kind of messed up too. Jeez.
Yeah, that's. I don't want to say he actually did though.
Oh no.
Oh, but it's just like, man, talk about bad timing.
Very.
It's like, yes, Nix, it is a mess. I found that. There's Salem. I found that out listening to. I found that out watching SF Debris documentary series on the rise and fall of the comic book empire. SF Debris was a lot more harsh on Rob Liefeld.
Yeah. He is a very harsh man in general.
He can be. He's not. Kind of the thing I appreciate about SF Debris is he sort of eschewed the whole angry reviewer shtick that was sort of popular at the time. Like he always, I mean, like if something ticks him off, like any given Voyager episode, so that he doesn't really hold back, but he has he's a much more thoughtful reviewer. I mean, he even does give episodes credit where they're due, even if he hates them.
Yeah.
Although you can definitely tell watching A Night in Sickbay was torture for him.
I think Enterprise for him in general was torture.
Up until it started getting good.
Yeah, but they really did not do well with depicting the first Enterprise.
Yeah, but then again, I still have to ask, what the fuck was the point? What the fuck was the point to Enterprise? Like, was anyone asking that? Was anyone asking for it? Did anybody want that?
No, but they were spitballing ideas. And instead of going further into the future, they decided to go backwards. Which destroyed a tradition they had where the cast member, either cast member will hand the reins to the new show, like with McCoy on The Next Generation in its first episode, or the Enterprise stopping off at Deep Space Nine, or Voyager stopping off at Deep Space Nine. Man, Deep Space Nine's been in a lot.
Yeah.
And I am back eventually.
Hey, Tank.
Actually getting back onto subverting expectations the right way. That was basically the whole conceit of Deep Space Nine, was subverting people's expectations for Star Trek.
And they did it well.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of more like they sort of took like all the tropes they had for Star Trek, and they just sort of and they kind of tried. They just showed, okay, so this Prime Directive, what happens when the Prime Directive it meets the real world? What happens when you meet a? Because like I'm drawing a blank as to how many ways they actually kind of they turned Star Trek tropes on their head with Deep Space Nine.
Every way possible.
Well, I think one of the best ways was like they took, because like I think one conceit with like Next Generation was that, no, it was more with Gene, and they did get away from that, was that humanity sort of gotten past being petty, for lack of a better term. They were, and of course, obviously, like I said, they got away from them. They kind of showed that that even in the future, humanity's flaws never went away. But they kind of held up the Federation as sort of being this sort of beacon of light in the galaxy. Well, then you get to the colonies and in Deep Space Nine, where the Federation has pretty much left them to fend for themselves, and that's just because they want to maintain the appearance of a treaty they have with was it with the Klingons, I think?
Cardassians.
With the Cardassians, and meanwhile, and so they're just not going to help out those colonists at all. And well, like Cisco said, it's easy to be a saint when you're in paradise.
You know, here's the thing about Deep Space Nine was that a lot of the earlier plotlines were seeded was seeded by the Next Generation.
Yeah, they kind of reworked a lot of discarded or the Next Generation scripts for the first season of Deep Space Nine, I think.
No, I think it's more along the lines of they knew that they had a plan for Deep Space Nine, but they also used the existing show to show that what's going on in Deep Space Nine was happening in different places around the Federation that the Enterprise could get to, but Deep Space Nine could not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it can't go because, well, it can't get there because Deep Space Nine is a space station orbiting Bajor.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. Not only that, it's also in the backwater of the galaxy. Because also, what was also kind of interesting is the fact that the Bajorans were not on board with joining the Federation because like what Kira said in the first episode, you know, the last time people came from the stars claiming to be our friends, it was the Cardassians.
Yep.
They had reason not to trust them.
Pretty much. I mean, like, come on. Like, the Cardassians occupied their planet for 50 years and just... So, like, why are they so even though the Federation is arguably better than the Cardassians, why would they trust them when they've already had one group screw them over?
Huh.
Not only that, when they even got to the point where they decided, you know what, maybe we will join the Federation, Cisco comes in and says, "No, don't."
Once again, turning the whole thing on its head.
Yeah, though. I think for the most part they went too far with that. Because I think to a certain point you have to fall within the boundaries of continuity. Whereas if you look at how the Federation's doing things in comparison to Cardassians, you'd figure that by the time that the Bajorans are able to have members of their race in Starfleet, they'd be more accepting of the Federation.
I think like to that point, the only other Bajoran who was in the Federation was Ro. I think.
I'm just gonna look up how many. I think there were. I'm pretty sure there were more, but they were minor characters.
You know, Ro at least had a recurring role.
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah, let's see.
And then she ended up leaving the Federation and joining the Maquis.
Yep. And then in the expanded universe, she rejoined Starfleet and became second in command of D69.
You know what's funny? Ro was actually originally supposed to have Kira's role on Deep Space Nine.
Which is probably why they did it.
Yeah, but I think what happened is that I think it had more to do with the fact that Michelle Forbes did not want to stick with Star Trek, just because I think she was afraid of being typecasted.
Yeah. You know, in the expanded novels, it might be a bad idea to make them canon because in one novel, Kirk makes first contact with the Bajorans during the 5-year mission. So that would mean that joining the Federation would be the time between joining the Federation would have been really slow burning, as well as rebuilding from Cardassian occupation.
Yeah.
Boy, 100 years it took them.
Yeah. Also,
And it still looks like a shithole.
well, it was nice before the Cardassians showed up.
Man, the Cardassians really fucked everything up if it takes 100 years to...
Well, they strip mine the planet.
Honestly, the way that Deep Space Nine set up was that the ending of the Cardassian occupation was fairly recent.
Yeah, like they literally just like the second the Federation rolled in, they had practically left yesterday. Like I think O'Brien even commented that they kind of wrecked the station just as a way to spite the Federation.
Yeah, it's a station that was orbiting Bajor, so
Yeah, well, like I said, when he arrived on the station, it was a mess.
Yep.
I was also gonna say that I think like swapping Ro out for Kira actually ended up working better. Just because, well, I think because Kira had a history growing up on Bajor. I don't think Ro did. Like she spent most of her childhood growing up in refugee camps.
Yep.
Yeah, whereas Kira, she was Bajor born and raised.
It was either that or it was basically Star Trek being carefree with their continuity again, such as all the times. So, especially when they have such a fast and loose relationship with continuity that I'm surprised that there's anyone who's upset with Discovery not lining up.
Yeah, but
here's
the thing. Like when you consider some of the things that Kira did over the show, especially considering where she was always a lot. There were times she went around Sisko's back because it was in Bajor's interest.
Yeah,
that is not stuff that would have fit Ro. Like that made more sense for Kira to do stuff like that. So it's like it was kind of a case where it was a blessing in disguise essentially.
Oh yeah. But then again, they probably would have written Ro as much differently.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the reason why I think it works better with Kira is just because, like I said, Ro did not grow up on Bajor. Kira did. She has a much more personal connection to the planet than Ro does. So essentially her going around Cisco's back to help her people out, that actually makes her, that feels more natural. Because she wants to do what's best for her home.
Yeah. Let's see. So,
By the way, Salem's in the chat.
yeah, we said hi earlier.
Yeah.
I don't think. Okay, so I looked up Ro's background story.
Mhm.
She did live on Bajor. At the age of 7, she watched a Cardassian torture her father to death.
Yeah, but didn't she live the majority of her life off Bajor though?
It doesn't say that. I think she may have gotten away from there, but she's got she has a lot of baggage, such as the reason why Picard objected to her joining the crew of the Enterprise was because of her court martial, where she disobeyed orders and got killed. Eight fellow crewmen killed.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, she got a pardon so that she could convince a Bajoran terrorist to call off attacks on Federation colonies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still maintaining my position. Kira actually made more sense to be the Bajoran character for Deep Space Nine than Ro would have.
Yeah.
Again, hindsight kind of shows it worked out for the better.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of which, did you guys notice that Deep Space Nine was trending on Twitter yesterday?
Is it for the documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for that, which was basically them spitballing ideas for a proposed season 8 made this year.
Oh, fuck no.
Look, even with as flawed as its ending was, it's like just leave it be.
What, you don't want to see Captain Nog in command of the Defiant?
I don't care. It's like
I just don't want them to take another steaming shit on a good property.
Yep. I don't know if they brought back for the documentary. They brought back the entire writing room to do it.
Huh.
Well,
Even Ron Moore was part of it.
Well, in his defense, he's not a shitty writer. I just think he has some shitty ideas sometimes.
You kidding?
Like the final season of the All-Star Galactica.
Exactly.
He wrote Tapestry.
Look, like I said, he's not a shitty writer. He just has shit ideas, and he proved as much through the first 3 seasons of BSG. I mean, they were brilliant.
Yeah,
they were honestly good watching TV. There was great sci-fi, but
yeah, even I won't defend season 4 of Battlestar Galactica, and that shit got weird.
Maybe my head's just too flat to understand the esoteric shit he got into there. I don't know. But
look, Battlestar Galactica was good when it was about how desperate the situation was for humanity and them just trying to survive.
And the space battles. Don't forget the fucking space battles. Those were epic. Those were probably some of the best choreographed space battle scenes in recent history. I mean, the action shots and everything were just amazing.
Oh yeah, they were, but it's just like, but yeah, when it was about, like when it was about how desperate the situation was, and like always them teasing like whether or not they find Earth, that's when it was good. And also just the toll it was taking on everybody.
Yeah, and even the ships. I mean, what they lose a ship, and it's like there was that sense of dread, constantly hovering over everything, but it was handled so well.
Yeah. Fuck, they even showed the Galactica taking wear as the show went on.
Yes, which made it even better.
Yeah.
Which was
Because normally what you would see is ship getting shot to fucking hell one episode, and the very next episode, continuity wise, is probably just a week or two later, 100% fine again. Not a Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, that thing took a beating, limped on, and you saw it. You just saw the beating the Galactica took.
Yeah, that's what made it better.
It's especially considering like when the show started, it had been converted into a museum, so it was already old as fuck.
Yeah, old, on its way to be decommissioned, had majority of its armor removed. The one flight pod was entirely converted into a museum showpiece. So that ship wasn't even battle ready.
Yeah. It was just the only one they had.
Yeah. The part where the writing did get a bit shitty and made absolutely no sense. Look, I understand why they did it, because the Galactica was the hero ship. But when they destroyed the Valkyrie.
Oh, you mean the Pegasus?
Or the Pegasus, the Valkyrie class ship. The Pegasus, when they destroyed that in order to save the Galactica, that was out of character writing, even for Leah Dharma. I mean, it made absolutely no, up until that point. He seemed like he was going to be a competent commander and everything, and then they just wrote that part. Look, I understand why they wanted to keep the Galactica, but at that point in time, the Galactica was already suffering from severe damage. I mean, the fact that they tried to repair it with Cylon technology and everything, it just, that part made no sense to me. You have a much more capable ship. You can use it with the ore and everything you're collecting to even make yourselves new fighters, new ships, new Vipers to fight the Cylons. But no, we're going to destroy it in this heroic last stand because fucking shitty writing reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, but once again, on the other side, I can understand why they did it. Because of the emotional connection that everybody had with the Galactica. Those kinds of things, yes, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. But from a practical standpoint, I do believe, and Space Doc did that channel, they did a great episode on that on YouTube. If you haven't watched it or subscribed to it, he put it in a much better detail than I could write here. Why it was stupid, and also made absolutely no sense from any viewpoint or angle you take it from, even from the sentimental side.
Well,
Yeah,
it's also because the ship's name is in the title.
Yeah. Well,
yes, understandable.
Hey, if Ichiro Oda can sink the Straw Hats pirate ship in One Piece, why can't they sink the Galactica?
Title.
And yes, title, understandable, but it has happened that they could have, as an homage, not really rename the Pegasus, because in naval circles, it is actually bad luck to rename a ship. It's also bad luck to name your ship after the devil, but it could, just carry the moniker. It could still be the Pegasus, but they could just call it the Galactica for reasons, air quotes, and carry on. I understand it's in the title, but
I'm being facetious about that.
It is basically what could happen is Adama saves, like, I don't know, the fucking like the heraldry or whatever. I don't know how this shit works, but like he just saves like this. He just saves this little memento from the Galactica, and it's like the
There's
one piece he's
Pegasus.
got left of it, and he just keeps it in his quarters to remind him of to remind that he lost the best ship he ever had.
But then on the other side, I mean, that would have been, in my opinion, a much better send off and ending to those episodes. But that's me.
Just
I mean, at the end of the day, it makes no sense to stupidly sacrifice a much more capable, much more advanced ship.
one that's in better shape too.
Yes, for sentimental reasons.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, the emotional impact that would have had on everybody. That would have just felt devastating.
Yes, and I think they actually diminished the impact that those episodes could have had.
I mean, not just like on the characters. Like, imagine the audience. Like, that would have gone down as maybe one of the most heartbreaking moments in science fiction.
It would have been a defining episode indeed.
It would have been like,
Instead, now people remember those episodes with a little bit more derision than they actually should have.
really.
If it's anything, the show went downhill at that point.
True. But
And
they could have salvaged a little bit more goodwill had they gone this route, I think.
funny thing is that they wanted to do a story that had more realism, and they end it with finding Earth is destroyed, then finding another planet that is in a very similar star system as Earth to begin the human race again.
Here's what I
See,
was gonna say. Here's something that kind of has been that I've seen people cite as like a flaw in the show was the whole idea behind the Cylons, like how they could have you could have sleeper agents and they wouldn't know until their programming kicked in. Like how that was lazy writing because then it's like you could pull the rug out from under the audience and be like, you thought, yoink, this person's actually a Cylon, with absolutely no foreshadowing.
it could have been viewed as lazy writing, but they actually used it to a very clever effect. And I think the place where they may have dropped the ball was when they revealed that there are multiple versions of the same one.
Yeah.
That's where I think they screwed it up a little bit.
Also, the final 5 Cylons was...
Yeah, that's a little bit, I don't know,
Dumb.
shitty.
Like I said, a lot of that's down to how fucking weird the final season got. Like when they tried to be all metaphysical and shit.
Yeah.
Like it was better when it was about survival.
Look, I'll give Ron Moore a few points there, at least for trying something weird and out there. But I'm subtracting those points immediately for execution.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was they tried to push too much stuff, and had they alluded to the stuff a little bit more throughout the prior seasons, in the build-up, I think it would have softened the blow to how weird it got. But ultimately, because it was this drastic tonal shift in season 4 that ruined it all.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was no foreshadowing or any sort of build-up to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's like somebody just walked into the script room and everybody was high on crack rock or something when they wrote this.
Pretty much.
Wasn't season 4 also written during that guild strike?
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. There were a lot of shows I think suffered from the writer's strike.
So it could be that the original writers weren't available, so you kind of had to go with what he had.
To be honest, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or if they completely rushed the scripts.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, this was meant to form part of the greater idea for the whole season, but because the strike was there, they couldn't flesh the season out properly as they would have liked to. So they just kind of had to go with what they had.
That's yeah. I mean, like I said, it's flawed, but at least it doesn't really excuse its flaws, but it does put them in perspective.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, it was still shot well.
Yeah.
The writing was competent. It's just, I think, the fact that it was so fucking weird and completely unexpected why everybody hated it as much as they did.
Mm-hmm. Good thing about being an independent comic creator is you never have to worry about that shit happening to you.
Or having running a comic and not needing to worry about budget.
Yeah. Or like worrying about a comic writer strike. Oh my god! How many? It's amazing like how there hasn't been a mass strike from comic creators in the big two with how badly they get paid.
I think it is honestly because they bought into the starving artist trope completely a little bit too much.
Well, let's be honest. Most of the people they hire are stupid enough to believe that the reason why they get paid less is because it's an honor to work on these characters.
Well, yes, it is an honor, but it should also be your job to write these characters competently, to draw them competently.
I'll just say Valiant at least pays their creators what they're worth.
I'm going to argue a point that I'm pretty sure that DC pays well as well, because if they didn't, I don't think Sean Gordon Murphy would be there.
That's also true. But Sean Gordon Murphy is in the unique position where he can be both a writer and an artist.
Yeah, but I think they're in comparison to Marvel, DC's got better comic sales to hire better writers and artists, while Marvel does not. And DC is smart enough to take their woke creators and put them at Vertigo rather than the main DC titles.
Yeah.
Although there was that one time they experimented with what was a G. Willow Wilson on Wonder Woman, but I think the sales tanked.
Yep, because that was dumb. I read one issue.
They also gave Aquaman a Kelly Sue DeConnick.
I'm waiting to see how that affects sales. It's probably not going to be well.
Yeah, but they managed to keep it out of the hands of Zoe Quinn, Max Visaggio, and the guy who wrote Border Town, which turned out to be a good idea to keep him away.
And still, I mean, like, if you're working at Marvel, you are not getting paid what you're worth.
Well, I'd argue that they are.
I don't know, if I was working at Marvel and I'd start looking at my paycheck, I'd say, I deserve more than this.
The people.
Yeah, but that's because you have your head screwed on straight.
The actually talented people left Marvel a long time ago.
Yeah, so basically what's happening is they're just getting the people to fill the positions at this point in time. They're like, oh shit, we need to get books out, but we got nobody. What's the latest on Tumblr? Hire! Except Tumblr's not dead.
Yeah, it was weird how there was supposedly that mass exodus from Tumblr, and yet it's still around.
Because it's limping along. Like, literally, think of it as the guy bouncing around on one leg after the shark bits it off. So it's literally like that right now. But I found it funny, and I don't know how true it is, but I read somewhere, Weapon posted it, that apparently Pornhub is looking at buying Tumblr now.
Hey, that was all it was ever good for anyway.
makes fucking perfect sense. The Ultimate Woke website getting bought out by the very thing they wanted to get rid of. Can you say irony?
Yep.
It is hilarious. Although to be fair, it wasn't the porn that ruined Tumblr; it was all the pedophiles on it.
Oh boy.
True.
You
That
know,
is
I think,
true.
speaking of pedophiles, I believe I have this feeling that the name Jared is cursed.
You know, he's right. Like there was Jared Fogle getting caught with having child porn on his hard drive, and now you got Pro Jared who's been soliciting nudes from underage fans.
Then we've got the Jared that I work with, who's actually a fucking Facebook stalker.
Oh, fun.
Shit! Oh shit!
Yeah, no, seriously. What this guy did in the first 3 months that he started working at the company, he actually took a written warning for this. He stalked every single female employee who works at the company on Facebook to add them as friends.
Oh my god!
Yes. So more credence to that point.
Sheesh, that is
Well then.
that is fucked up beyond all reason.
Yes, it is. And if you saw the guy, you would know exactly why, because he just gives up fucking creeper vibes.
I'm trying to think if I know anyone in real life named Jared who gives me that vibe, but I don't. I think I'm. And again, I'm one of those people whom I've got to observe someone for a time being to get a real good beat on them. Like give me enough time observing somebody, I'll probably figure them out pretty well.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Some people you can pick up immediately just by looking at them. Others you have to,
Watch.
observe for a while.
Yeah, it's just like
I remember.
I know.
I don't think I've ever worked with a guy named Jared, but I have worked with a guy who is pretty much a sex offender
What?
because, yeah, he got fired from Meyer for sexually harassing female employees who were underage.
Oh shit!
Went to work at McDonald's.
Wow.
Yep. I got to. And he got fired from McDonald's after he showed up on the 11 o'clock news when it was found out that he was. Now this was so long ago that MySpace is still a thing,
Oh my god!
but he had a court order to stay away from any minors. Well, he's been MySpace stalking a bunch of minors. So after that happened, the decision was made to fire him.
Oh my god!
Well, there's something.
Yep. And this guy was, holy shit, this guy was the creepiest bastard ever.
Like he just gave off that vibe.
Yeah, and he didn't shower either. He didn't bathe.
Oh,
No.
great!
And
I
his
had a
name
guy
was
like
not
that.
Ross either.
I worked with a guy like that who didn't bathe.
There's also a guy.
Yeah.
There's also a guy at my job who doesn't bathe. But he's just kind of. I think he's just a slob, though.
Yeah.
No.
I usually point this guy out as a reason why I'm not pro hiring anyone without a background check, because this guy, when you find out on the 11 o'clock news that he's been violating his parole, it's not good. It doesn't look good, especially when you have him in a job where he's working with minors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will commend McDonald's for making the call to protect the miners that work for them.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah, speaking from personal experience, it's stupid easy to get into Walmart. You just basically, if you don't have a felony on your record, they'll take anybody.
Yeah. No, the guy that I worked with, they recently moved, but yeah, this guy was in the height of summer, and he would come in. You know, when a guy doesn't bathe so much, when he stinks so much, you actually get that sour taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
That's this guy.
Damn.
And no, but he's now fortunately New York State's problem because they moved to the States.
Eh,
Well,
I think he'll fit right in there though.
well, it's
more
New
reason
York.
to stay out of New York.
Like I said, New York.
Harvey Weinstein.
Well, he does look effeminate, so he might end up on a casting couch.
That depends on how desperate Harvey Weinstein is.
What after his next offense, he might come out like they pulled the Spacey. Oh, by the way, I'm gay. Only to try and get away from his felonies and shit.
Yeah, I have to say that I do think that Kevin Spacey is gay simply because of all of his victims are men.
Or he could just be one seriously twisted individual.
Hollywood, so it's possible.
Yeah.
And Salem, SJWs will probably flock to Pornhub if they really like the porn that the artists are making. I mean, they're okay with the pedophile stuff.
Oh, they'll probably moan that there's not enough something on there.
Or how they need to segregate the races.
Yeah, that'll probably be one.
I just find it funny how they're just falling back to what they find so horrible about the civil rights movement. Segregation is awful. Let's segregate.
Yeah, they essentially what they're calling for is, I'm going to say it. What they are calling for is a brand new version of apartheid, except they're not calling it that. Because they're looking for laws to enact this shit. They are actually physically looking at enacting it. They want government mandated enforcement of this shit. They are literally looking at what the National Party did in our country. They just don't call it that.
One of the interesting cases is with Movie Bob. He's
so far out there. I don't even know what the hell he's sniffing or drinking or whatever.
It's like, here's the thing with Movie Bob. He is such an interesting case for self-projection. Like, the guy is literally everything he claims to be against. He says he's against racism. He's very racist against white people. He says he's against sexism. He's very sexist against men. He says he's against elitism. He looks down on the white working class.
And when you look at his
if they went away.
Yeah. Then when you go to the Razor Fist rebuttal, where he took on Movie Bob as well, basically he put it in a very, very succinct manner. Movie Bob first has to demean and other you before he can actually try to talk about you. He has to belittle you first before he can actually take on the subject of talking about a specific person. It's just the fact that it's been made easier for him, seeing as mass media has already labeled anybody who doesn't agree with them as collection of buzzwords and angry, nasty people.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm just saying, if this guy had any capacity for self-reflection, he'd realize what he is.
If he had any capacity for self projection, he'd probably do something
Not
that
self
nobody would want.
self-reflection.
Self-reflection.
Yeah.
He would, but he wouldn't. People like him don't have that capacity, so that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. It's just amazing. Like it just amazes me that you can have people like they will claim they will just say they're one thing and they're against this other thing, but when you look at them from the outside, you just see they are all those things they say that they're against.
But of course,
It's a lot like in the episode of Valon 5 Infection, where the fanatic becomes the enemy.
Yeah. That's true. Although I would have to say I don't think you can say you're against homophobia and be homophobic. I don't think that one's possible.
Nope.
oh, this is a fun one.
What?
Al Jazeera Plus. A former neo-Nazi tells us how white supremacists are luring teens through video games.
It's AJ
That's
Plus. Who cares?
dumb.
That is so fucking hilarious. Where's a good meme reply for this?
It amazes me. AJ Plus is supposed to be the woke branch of Al Jazeera, which is a media company that is owned lock, stock, and barrel by the Qatari royal family.
Yeah.
And what
I
really
know
makes
this.
it funny is, I remember there's a couple videos that AJ Plus has put out about how bad slavery is, and Qatar even has a museum about slavery that was built with slave labor. Qatar is still a country where slavery is practiced.
Majority of the Middle East. But don't let the woke folk find out because they'll label you as a conspiracy theorist.
Or racist.
This isn't even
Or racist.
conspiracy shit. This is stuff you can find on the U.S. State Department's website.
Yes, the State Department that is owned by Trump, who's spreading propaganda and lies.
This stuff is old. This stuff predates.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist.
I know this, but this shit goes all the way back. God knows how many decades this information goes back. It's like, yeah, whatever. Neither here, we're not that. Neither here nor there.
So, it's funny. So I think it's kind of funny how sometimes jokes made by cast members or so will turn out to be spoilers.
Sorry?
Like the time that Kit Harington dressed up as Daenerys Targaryen.
Okay. Ow.
You know, Ruthven actually had one of the best posts about it. Avengers Endgame fans, no spoilers, no spoilers. GOT fans, fucking spoilers coming out of your ears.
Yep. That's because the show has become such trash that nobody cares anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a book, so it'll give us a real ending.
I'm still gonna watch it eventually once all the episodes have been loaded.
Yep.
At least one more episode and it's all done.
It's just funny, especially the current. Can I mention it? I mean, honestly, I think you couldn't have avoided it by now. I mean, it's all over Twitter.
Yep.
I mean, Daenerys going batshit. How could you have missed it?
Well, let's see. She's from a line of aristocrats that are inbred, and history has shown inbreeding leads to mental instability.
Yeah, I mean, very, very first season when she's with the Dothraki elders, locks them all in with herself inside, proceeds to torch the building. Yeah, that is mentally stable behavior.
You know what's funny is that that's a power that's only in the show.
She didn't do that in. Wait, no, that scene happened in the book too.
No, it has. Right now, Danny's lost in the lost in the desert with Drogon.
Spoiler alert. I think they diverged from the novels around season 5. Like completely went on their entire own separate way. I mean, they haven't been faithful to the books for the majority of the seasons, even since season 1, but I think they truly diverged from where the novels were going around season 5, if I remember correctly. May have been earlier, may have been later.
And they really could have pulled a lot more seasons from the books because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the novels that you can't really keep contained to one season, such as the Northern Rebellion against the Boltons could have had its own season to develop. But the showrunners really did not want to do anymore. Apparently, HBO said that they wanted to do more seasons. George R. R. Martin said that he wanted to see more seasons because he didn't see it as their plans for season 7 and 8 as being very practical to end the series on. And they said no. They wanted to end it there.
Yeah, it just looks like totally that they have completely lost their way with how they actually want to run it all, run the story and everything. So they have an idea, but somehow I think they just went the complete wrong way and listened to the wrong people again. But I just find it funny that they did manage to piss the feminists off entirely. So, yeah, I think I'll watch the season just for the lols.
That one chick who was talking about was going on a whole rant thread. It's like if you're that devastated by how a show has turned out, you seriously need to get some perspective, chick.
Yeah, because first they killed Tyrion's lover. Fuck, I can't even pronounce her name because she was. Yeah. Then they killed the other one, another lady also from Marine and everything, and then the whole Daenerys thing is like, come on, people, really? Really? Did you honestly think that this show was meant for your demographic only? No, this show is meant for a lot of people.
It's not meant for children.
I really think it's funny how Thomas and SJWs just go out and say, this is a bad influence on girls. This is not for kids, you dumbasses. All the sex and violence. You don't want kids to watch it. Especially with all the gore, too.
Good parent. No parent in their right mind should let their kids watch this. Yeah. Like, if you're a parent and you let your kids watch Game of Thrones, you're
a bad parent.
Yeah.
I'll just say what it is. You're a bad fucking parent if you let your children watch that show. Same thing that I told the guy who took his 9-year-old in to watch District 9.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
The one part there in the movie, the guy after the whole "you fucking prawn" part, the lighty literally looked at his father and asked him, "Pa, what's a fucking prawn?"
Jeez.
The 9-year-old in a R-rated movie. Could you fucking not?
I mean, my dad took me to the Passion of the Christ when I was 12.
Yeah. 12. You have a much more developed idea of the world by then.
Yeah, but
what I find funny is like how so many people walked out of that movie and they just felt traumatized by it.
Wasn't that bad?
Just fine.
Yeah, or you get the extreme reaction like the South Park creators where it sucked for them.
It was funny, like how they made Mel Gibson just this crazy guy who likes being tortured.
Yep.
Yeah, and I see old Mel Gibson's got left Twitter running around like mad again, yet once more. Because his next movie will be focusing on the Rothschilds.
Oh boy. Well,
That was my reaction.
so I found out I saw an interesting article the other day.
Oh,
What?
Apparently, Robert Downey Jr. has come out as conservative.
What?
that's funny.
Yep.
Well, I think now that he's done with the Marvel films, he doesn't really care anymore. He's
According-
made his money.
According to him, you don't go to jail and come out a liberal.
That is true.
Dude, what were you in the...
I've a lot of people that I know that actually went to jail and came out reformed. They don't look at their political views. Definitely do change. Usually for the better.
To be honest, I'm not surprised simply because with Robert Downey Jr., he's been incredibly loyal to Mel Gibson to the point where he says that if he ever wants to do another Iron Man movie, Mel Gibson has to direct it.
Uh-huh.
And it's because of how Mel Gibson helped him through his addiction. And so Downey Jr. is loyal for that. He didn't all the times that Mel Gibson has been down his lowest. Downey Jr. is there to help him out.
Damn.
I'm just surprised.
No, but that actually and let me guess, the reaction from the far left, from the loony left, has been predictable.
Actually, I haven't seen anything about it, so apparently he's okay because he didn't vote. He didn't like Trump.
Yeah, but you know what? I think at the end of the day, it's just because he's made his money from the Marvel films, so he's pretty much sitting on fuck you money right now.
Pretty much.
So
Yeah.
he don't care.
Just like James Woods.
Oh,
I still think it's funny how.
it's, you know, that man used to be.
Oh, I
Sorry?
thought it was funny how James Woods was able to play Hades as flamboyantly as possible.
They played him like a used car salesman.
Yep. And somehow the SJW see Hades as gay.
They could see that character for whatever the hell they want. I thought he played that part perfectly. I still
Oh, yeah.
find it shitty that he was suspended by Twitter yet again, or locked out of his account at least.
Well, he got back anyway.
Because watching that man go at them, it's like it's just brings a smile to my face every day.
I just wonder how long it'll. I wonder how long it'll be before they try to can William Shatner.
Yeah, seeing him go at them as well, it's just like it is amazing. It truly brings a smile to my face because they do it the
Captain-
right way.
Yep, Captain Kirk is not on your side.
Yeah. But it's literally, there's a difference in how you approach these people. They don't go at them. They literally just look, they just wait for the stupidest shit and then they go at that instead. They don't literally go after the people unless people come after them.
Yeah.
And James Woods is usually of the case. He has their laughs with them and then it's like hashtag instablock. But he always leaves them with a sick burn as well before he does that. That's why it is such a joy seeing them go to work on these people. It reminds me of a mob hit, literally, as you would put it and see it in the movies. They literally just eliminate them in the most spectacular way possible, and then it's just like done.
Yeah. Yes. It's kind of like what Smug does when she's responding to crazy people on Twitter. She can just say something that's just so fucking benign, but that'll make people lose their shit.
I think that right there speaks to the mentality what these people have. They have become so averse to anybody saying anything. It could be, like literally the sky is blue, but because they don't like the person who said it, it's fire and brimstone time.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Let's check the Kickstarter, see how it's done. Okay, we're still where we left at $3,659, 109 backers. We still,
Yeah. The biggest problem I have is finding good memes or templates to use.
we still get a little over a week, and the final week is usually one of the best times for crowdfunding because that's when people say, "Oh shit, I got to get in on this now."
Yeah, but also the fact that you guys have been showing a good track, it's been a good steady growth throughout. So
Yeah, we did not have that. We didn't have that middle slump for some reason.
constantly, because the three of you have been constantly marketing, you have other people helping out. You've kept people engaged, people excited. The contests help. The the additions, getting people involved, all of that helps. And I can definitely say that it showed with OnePool as well. It was just this steady growth the whole time because people were constantly engaged and, it was in their minds, but not in a tacky way. It was always in a great way. Getting the community involved.
That's how you do it.
That is how crowdfund should be run.
You
In my
gotta,
opinion, I think this shows it.
yeah, you gotta,
Yes, it takes a hell of a lot out of you.
you gotta constantly
Because-
keep your foot on the gas.
Yeah, it's one of those pedal to the metal and let it go.
And unfortunately, some of there are some campaigns that will just let the name. Will try to coast on whomever is popular,
Yeah.
and they don't really work out that well.
Well, like I said, I told this on Chuck's stream last night. It is better to surround yourself with reliable people than popular ones.
Yep.
Yeah. And I saw quite a few people already give Ferryman 2 a good shout out again today, especially because Sean already delivered a book once before. So it's not like he's been, he's just new on the block. He's already been through this. He's already delivered a book.
Which is
Yeah,
why I'm
Sorry?
surprised that he had to expand.
Yeah, that's another thing that I really do find funny, but it shows. There's a lot of things that happened, especially with Ferryman 2, because the original book ended off. Let me just get in front of me, yeah? Come on. The original book managed, doesn't say how many backers now. It does it. 348 backers.
Mhm.
And they managed $3,833. So, but that's also after extending the campaign.
Mhm.
The problem right now is he's already extended the campaign, but then again, he also has a higher goal this time. Not that much higher. It's like $2,000 higher than the first goal. First goal was like 3,000, 3.5, so 2,000, 1,500. But he's struggled to get. Not all the original backers have come back to back this book.
Yeah, I think Eric even said they lost like 50% of their original backers. The lion's share of what pushed Sport Command was new backers.
Yeah, and the biggest issue that we have with that, what I can see based on this whole thing, is I do think it is fatigue with people backing books that are unfortunately running a little bit late.
Yeah, whereas we kind of went outside. We went outside out of the comic sphere on Twitter. Like
Yep.
we were, and that actually honestly, I don't think we'd be getting it. We would have gotten as far as we did had we not tried reaching outside. These were people who were not in comics Twitter, who had not who were not too familiar with the goings on
Yeah.
there. They were
But then on the other hand as well, you've also got a couple of guys, and I can understand why they get angry. The turbo guys, the guys who are very passionate about supporting their local comic book store, the LCS, and why a lot of them don't seem to believe that independent comics will be saving these stores. But at the end of the day, what a lot of people fail to realize is you can't just use crowdfunded comics to replace the old ailing industry overnight.
no, and plus
You have to allow time to grow, and there will be things. So you have these guys unfortunately spreading a bit of shade on even on delivered books previously. So there's shit from all sides, and a lot of it is guys that they mean well. I understand what they're saying, what they're trying to do, and all of that, but unfortunately, it's not helping.
I'm gonna have to, as much as it might not sound fun to say this, I think we are going to end up living in a post LCS industry.
I've stated it many times. I spoke to Doc Philly about it on Twitter a few weeks ago. The days of comic book stores selling comics exclusively are unfortunately over. Your LCS will no longer exist. The whole idea of a store selling comics exclusively is unfortunately over and done with. They have to diversify.
Yeah.
And the owners themselves have to realize that those days, the glory days of selling one product, is unfortunately behind them. It is sadly diversify or die.
Yeah. You got it. Well, they're a business. They got to keep the lights on.
And if they don't get with the times, they will unfortunately falter and fall. It sucks saying it, and I'll probably take a bit of flack once this gets out to people, but that is the sad, hard truth. Those days are gone. They aren't coming back. And as much as you want to rail against the future, scream helplessly at the sky, or do whatever you want, it's not going to happen. It's literally not going to happen. It's not going to work.
What this means for us, though, is just that, look, you gotta get with it. It's just things change. Like about 100 years ago, to make a long distance phone call, you had to go through switchboards. You don't have to anymore. Those are gone. Now you can just now we just need cell towers to make a long distance call. And you can't. There are market and economic forces that we're powerless against. That's kind of how it works. The market's constantly shifting. It's constantly changing. Things are. Once someone and if you don't adapt to it, you're just gonna get left behind.
Yeah, and that's literally where we are right now. So yeah, at the end of the day, once things get better, and I do think that we are going to get there once, and it looks like Peter Samedi will get his alternative distribution network up and running, because he'll definitely have the support for that. Once that is up and running and he manages to get that going, things will start to look up again once all these already created independent books start hitting shelves. It's not going to stem the tide, but it will change the game completely. Because once you start to manage to eat into the diamond monopoly, and then you will finally be able to start open it up for everything.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
What is going on here?
Right now, I just want to see this thing succeed.
Keep
Go.
pushing, dude. You guys will get there. But so on local comic stores, I went by the one closest to me last weekend when I worked on Saturday. It's literally called The Bat Cave, and while their website still pretty much lists only comics and manga, when you actually walk into the store, it is merch, it is video games, it is pretty much everything, board games and all those things now.
Mhm.
Their physical store has diversified completely in terms of the product that they are selling.
Mhm.
So, but like I've said on numerous streams before, stores here in South Africa had to diversify long in advance of anything else out there. You know, stores overseas and everything, literally because of the absolute state of buying things here, especially because they're so expensive.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to wonder, man, like if comic book stores are not going to be where the money's going to be made going forward, we're just going to have to, and obviously online distribution is not at this point isn't the answer either. That's the only other avenue I can think of where you can really make money doing comic books is selling through cons.
Well, I'd have to say we have to diversify as well because there's really no way to live off of just exclusive comic book writing or just having a comic book.
No. Nope. Definitely not. That's you're definitely right about that. We're just gonna. Well, but yeah. Good news is we are in a position where we can afford to take more risks.
You know, it's not that the guys aren't in positions to take risks. It's just that nobody wants to take risks anymore in the bigger stuff because existing businesses, guys like Marvel and DC, they like the safe bet like any other business. Look at game developers, look at movie studios. They don't want to take risks because of the chance of these things failing. But then again, they don't want to examine why the new things fail. So they just stick to what is known, safe, and fluffy, and that is what they stay with because they are guaranteed to make money from it.
Which is ironic because Marvel did not get to where it was by not taking risks.
By playing it safe, exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
They dominated comics because they went against everything.
yeah, I mean,
Yep.
They challenged the DC juggernaut at that point in time by being fresh, by being new, by telling different stories, by telling more personal stories, by telling, for lack of a better term, more edgy stories. And yes, being political, but not in your face, shove it down your throat political, but being politically relevant.
not just that though. Like Stan took a big risk on like Jim Steranko. Like he walked in and he just told Jim Steranko, I've got nothing to give you, but you're too damn good to let go.
Well, I think it's also he also took a lot of risk making Spider-Man and X-Men. With Spider-Man, he was told that there is no way it'd work because people don't like spiders, and a teenage character is a sidekick, not a hero.
Yeah.
And then there's Stan's thing that he also completely disliked the idea of kid sidekicks. And rightfully so. I mean, you're endangering a child. I mean, come the fuck on.
Yep.
Yeah, when you step back and look at the whole idea behind Robin, you realize that Bruce is very irresponsible.
Yep. I mean, let's look at the Fantastic Four as Stan wrote them originally. They were heroes, but they were heroes with problems. They constantly fought with each other. You had the Thing that didn't want to be a hero. So yeah, completely against the grain, and that is why taking risks got them to where they were. And now, as we've seen, they are losing that edge because they aren't trying anymore.
Mhm.
And even worse is what they are trying is even worse because the people they got now can't even write a competent story, sadly, in most cases.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, a lot of the people who work at Marvel right now took the wrong lessons learned from Stan Lee. Is that they can be realistic, but not to the point where it makes the story stupid.
Here's something else. Salem put in the chat. In today's economy, every dollar could be what saves you. It's hard to take risks.
That's true.
Except they had so much money at one point in time, they could afford to take the risks, but they preferred not to.
I mean, you look at what we were talking about earlier of Game of Thrones. They have money, they have the revenue. They just decided to go in a I guess in a way, very bland route with the show.
Yeah. Same thing now if you look at game developers. I mean, EA, during the guy John
John Riccatello, I think.
yes, that surname that I always pronounce it Richatello. Funny fun times. Anyway, when he was in charge of EA, look at all the wonderful games we got out of EA. We got the original Dead Space, we got Dead Space 2, we had the original Mirror's Edge. When he was there, we had the original Dragon Age. We had, well, it was under him that EA bought BioWare, and we got Mass Effect 2 still. And then
The only two games that really sold anything were Dragon Age and Dead Space.
the original Mirror's Edge also sold quite a few copies.
Not as much as they wanted, though.
No, but it's sold enough to warrant a sequel later on. But the thing is, during that time they took risks, and during that time was also when we got Battlefield 3, we got Bad Company 2. So yeah, when that's in the days when EA literally used their position and they took risks, and while not all the risks paid off massively, they still paid off to the point where it was still profitable for them. And then the slide happened again when they started clamping down on everybody again. During the time when they brought back Andrew Wilson. Which is where we are now with Anthem. The next Dragon Age was essentially going to be Anthem with dragons. And everything being monetized out its ears. Then you have Activision with whatever the hell they're doing. And then on the flip side, weirdly enough, you have Ubisoft, who keep their games apolitical. Even though they had a couple of rough launches, they stuck with their titles. I'm referring specifically now to the original Division and even Rainbow Six Siege, two games that were in a relative state at one point in time, but they stuck with it, kept their teams on there, fixed the problems to the point where Siege is still a very well game that's been played quite a bit. And the same from the other side when it comes down to the Division. While it's now been replaced by the Division 2, instead of regressing, what they did was they took what they learned from the original Division, applied those lessons to the second game, and they launched a live service title that is feature complete, has content, and now they're moving on to the next part of expanding upon that content.
Mm-hmm.
In complete contrast to Destiny 2, which was feature complete by the time the last expansion came out, the Taken King. And then when the Destiny 2 came out, it was literally back to square one, like Destiny 1 launched. Fuck all content. I got it for free and I felt ripped off. And I didn't play the first game. But I literally was gifted Destiny 2 and I felt ripped off.
Yeah. I've noticed that there's a lot of people who really don't like Destiny 2. Even though Achievement Hunter had done a ton of Destiny videos, they stopped doing Destiny 2 after one video had them all at each other's throats.
Yeah, so we might drop off.
Yep. So,
Look,
anyone who's still listening, Salem, you have a good day if we drop out.
Yeah. The thing I had with the Division, sorry, not Division, Destiny 2, or the original, Destiny 2, where's the story? Oh, there's this bad guy that wants to fight everybody, somehow MacGuffins your powers away. Yay. But the NPCs that you are meant to feel sorry for or grow a connection to, you just don't, because I never played the first game. I didn't know these characters for a bar of soap, but they were written so comically that you just look how funny we are is literally how they wrote it. I was like, I'm supposed to care about these chuckle fucks, really? I mean, you're going to get Nathan Fillion to voice a character, and instead of, making it natural, he literally sounded like he was hamming through the script the whole time. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't work for me. The writing. However, when it came to the gameplay, the shooting mechanics were good. I mean, shit, it's Bungie. They actually they know how to build a competent shooter. So points there, but the shooting only lasts as long. Same deal goes when we look at the other failure I mentioned earlier, Anthem. The flying mechanics are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But it only carries the game so long. Before you end up saying, fuck it.
Yeah. That's unfortunately modern video games these days.
Modern AAA titles.
Yeah.
But then again, not from all the developers. Like I've stated, I mean, look at Ubisoft. They have the interesting method of actually listening to their player base, because they probably they're the first big publisher to realize, shit, we do this, we actually make money, and people will still buy our games.
Yeah, but from what I understand, Ubisoft is still family owned.
Yeah, and they managed to buy back controlling stake as well from Vivendi Universal, so they managed to save themselves from what could have effectively been the French version of Activision taking them over.
Yeah.
That would have been awful.
What's another one? Bethesda's interesting in that regard.
Well, actually, with Bethesda, a lot of the old people are kind of gone.
Now, the reason I'm saying why they are interesting is when it comes down to their Elder Scrolls titles, they seem rudderless and they have no idea what they want to do. They kind of want to dabble with the idea of a Fallout MMO, but that didn't work out too greatly for them. 76, I haven't played it. I'm just basing it off what I've read. Some people enjoy it, some don't. And then when you get onto the id Software side of it, it's just like, is this bizarro world? I mean, I'm thinking back of the whole controversy surrounding the original Doom Eternal reveal when the Looney left went bonkers about the mortally challenged joke.
It's but it's just like I don't know. I think Bethesda's in that position where they've become a victim of their own success because like now they've got more money than they know what to do with since Skyrim, and they just
You know what they should have done?
Yeah.
Honestly, and people will probably hate me for this. They should have just found another way to repackage Skyrim and re-release that. And just instead of focusing on multiplayer Fallout, just let the developers working on Fallout release the next single-player Fallout title, while the guys, money hungry guys, literally just, okay, we're repackaging Skyrim again. Here you go.
yeah.
They literally should have just honestly have done that, and I think it would have worked out better for them.
Possibly. All right.
Change my mind.
I'm not going to. Possibly. But that's
But,
a spot where they can save themselves or completely destroy themselves with their next release.
Yes, so everything for them is going to hinge on Starfield or the next Elder Scrolls.
More than like, now I would kind of, okay, if Starfield does bad, then that puts even more pressure on Elder Scrolls 6.
Well, the problem for them is the fact that Starfield is already pretty much, if I remember correctly, confirmed to be an Epic Store exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
they've
it kind of
already.
I think it largely depends on which one comes out first.
Yeah,
If Starfield
it'll be Starfield.
Okay, so if Starfield underperforms, then Elder Scrolls 6 has to be the one that saves them.
Well, let me put it this way: they already cut off their one Achilles tendon with Epic Store exclusive announcements. So they are literally hopping around on one leg. So if Starfield turns out to be a very bad game, they're pretty much going to be crawling around with no feet after that.
Yep.
Which means, yes, Elder Scrolls 6 will have to be a phenomenal success. It's going to have to take what they learned from Skyrim. Take the nice immersive open world, the semi-livable, breathing world, where people actually do shit in Skyrim. Take that, but bring back the absolute bonkers character customization they had Morrowind, where you could literally be whatever you want to be.
About that, they were it's kind of funny because they were in that more or less in that same position when they were working on Morrowind, because like at that point Bethesda was actually at risk of going out of business.
Yes, but Morrowind actually did very well because
that's what I'm saying. Like Todd Howard actually said, you know what? We've got nothing to. What have we got to lose at this point? Let's just make the best game we can.
See, that's the problem, I think, with a lot of these companies. They lose sight of what they want to do, but this has been covered to death by YouTubers, so my 2 cents on this isn't really going to change the tune. But I honestly think that success makes them lazy and complacent.
Yep.
Yeah, more.
Look, I don't want them to be constantly under stress, and I obviously don't want the same repeat that we've heard of the horrors coming out of BioWare, how those poor developers are treated. I mean, I don't want to wish that on anyone. Mm-hmm. But I honestly think for Elder Scrolls 6 to be successful, they need to have, firstly, the character building depth that you had in previous games like Daggerfall and Morrowind, where if you want to be a stealth character, you can spec your character for stealth from the start. Not like Skyrim, where you play and only around level 20 do you actually start feeling like you are a stealth-based character. That's too far into the game for a specific playstyle. I mean, if you want to play something like that, you need to have the ability to build your character like that from the start.
Oh, I think Brett is gone again.
Yes, he is.
Well,
But yeah, so that's my whole point on that. I mean, for Elder Scrolls, they need to go back to that. I mean, the freeform character building is kind of nice, but at the same time, if you want to play, even if you want to play just a straight up fighter class or an archer class, it doesn't really help because of how shitty the game is geared towards that, because everything is so open form. Yeah, the freedom's great, but sometimes you need to rein that in a little bit because it doesn't work.
fortunately, but true. And
Oh well.
I think one of the biggest problems that Bethesda ultimately has is that right now they're just coasting on their previous successes. They're
Yeah.
coasting on Skyrim, and their Fallout 76 was made from Fallout 4.
Mhm.
It's just Fallout 76 was just a multiplayer component for a game that got a mixed reaction.
Yeah. I still have to play Fallout 4. So I still haven't played it because buying games is fucking expensive.
Yep.
Yeah. Fallout 4 is a game I don't bother trying to finish after I've modded the hell out of it, just because actually I don't know, for some reason I couldn't even finish the final quest. That's because it's like once I got into the Institute, I just hit this wall. Not an invisible wall. Not an invisible wall. I just hit some kind of I could not progress it for whatever reason. Like some kind of bug just took, like it was some kind of bug or something. I don't know.
It's probably because you didn't want to see if it gets bad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just I don't know. I've had plenty of fun with them. I've had plenty of fun fucking around with it with all the mods anyway. It's kind of funny how it's funny that way. I have had more fun modding Fallout 4 than I had actually playing it.
I had more fun modding Skyrim than actually playing it.
Yeah. that is funny. Making mods actually I didn't even make mods, but adding mods into a game was more fun than the actual game itself.
Well, here's the problem with Bethesda is that for them, and the reason why they added in mods was because they they rely on modders to fix the games for them.
Yeah.
If
Except
Bethesda
when
was
they didn't
smart,
allow it
if Bethesda was smart, they'd be giving some of those people jobs.
If Bethesda was smart, they wouldn't make them fix the game. Rather, instead of that, I have them just enhance the gameplay so that it makes you want to finish the game.
The first game of theirs the second game that I actually finished of theirs, which I actually enjoyed more than the first one I played, was Oblivion. Oblivion, for all the derision it gets from people, I still find is my favorite Elder Scrolls title. Yeah, sure, the Oblivion gates were a bit much, but I actually finished the game and only started modding it after I actually finished the main game. Skyrim, I started playing, and then I switched to modding it immediately.
Yeah, that's gonna say something.
But I had a brain fart.
And then I finished. Then I eventually finished it after the fourth time of trying to play it. because I used to get up to a certain point in the story campaign, and it's like, this is no longer fun. Because by then, because of how I played Skyrim, it's like start, do the main quest, get to a point, start doing side missions. A couple of hours later, maybe I should go into the main story again. But by now, because I've done all these side missions, I'm way overpowered for the main campaign, main story missions. Like, yeah, get bored, go home, turn off, uninstall, play something else.
Yeah.
That whole idea of the world levels with you is a shitty one.
All right. I need to eat something. We're about to. I need to
Yeah,
get.
I also think we need to give your hard drive a rest.
Yes, because we got a call-in so later on.
Yeah. Let's not go into We'll save that for to go into Kumite time.
Yep.
Yes.
Uh,
Cheers, guys.
Later,
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah, but